Welcome to my Ironman Kona learnings. Now it's approximately 2 weeks post-race. I've had a chance to think and digest what happened and what I learned. I wanted to share that with you. If you're going for Kona in the future or a similar hot climate condition race, this may well help you. And I'm sure there are things you can apply to help you win. Format today is we're going to go through a start, stop, continue model. That means things I should start doing, things I would definitely do from scratch if we were to go again. Things I learned that didn't work, things I should definitely stop doing and halt immediately, and then things that worked that I should definitely continue to do. So that is the three aspects that we'll cover today. All right, things I would start doing and recommend people to do is to arrive at your destination 1 week out, 7 days out before the race day. I certainly arrived in 3 days before and it was tight. You've got to register, you've got to get checked in, put your bike in, etc., get into your accommodation, and the days were full. That meant that I did not have really the chance to get out there on the course and do full, true course familiarization with swim, bike, and run. So when I was going on race day, I was doing it somewhat blind. So I advise you to get there early and then do your sessions out there on the course. That will really pay off on race day. Number two, I want to cover the what if scenarios. Certainly I was prepared for swim, bike and run. I felt I had the right strategy for each of the three disciplines, but I really didn't think about what if. And what did happen to me is I was severely stung by jellyfish in the swim, as many other athletes were. Now, it's a very individual response as to what happens when you get stung by jellyfish. I've been stung before in the past. It's an irritation. It settles down after a few days. These, however, were box jellyfish, and the stings are very venomous, can be fatal, and I had a very adverse reaction to the jellyfish sting. So what that meant was that I was pleased to get through the swim, but I was delirious, all over the place, dizzy, sleepy on the bike. I had to walk the run and had felt symptoms there that I've never ever felt in any race before. So it wasn't fitness that was involved here. It was purely an adverse reaction to the jellyfish sting. So what I wouldn't do now is thinking, what are the environmental factors of the race I'm going to? Are there any wildlife out there I need to be aware of? And if I do run into adversity, what do I do? And certainly, as I'll cover later, on any other race, any other day, I should have DNF'd medically. We'll come to that. All right, third thing is I'd like to increase the duration of my race pace efforts. Specifically for the swim and specifically for the bike, I've done a ton of interval work for each to build up my threshold, which is great. However, Ironman is somewhat of a steady state condition, steady state race. So you're out there swimming for a long time and out there biking for a long time. And my training sessions in preparation did not really reflect that. So a ton of intensity, whereas actually what I needed to do was sustained long race pace efforts. The fitness was there, but there's a mental endurance component you need to build, a mental muscle of holding that pace for hours. I recommend, and we'll certainly do that again if we're to go back and do it in the next Ironman race. From a bike point of view, did a ton of work at threshold, which was great, but what I felt I lacked was actually raising the ceiling, VO2 work to get interval intensity well above the threshold to raise the ceiling of what I can do physiologically. And of course, then the FTP, the threshold, will come along with that. But certainly that's something I'd learn to add in for next time. So what we've got then is two things I'm training. One is longer duration sessions, and then two shorter, higher intensity VO2 max. That combination would have just brought me on so much more. Fifth thing is logistics. There was 4 of us out there, myself, Mel, and the 2 boys, and we're very close, which is great. But we spent 2 weeks in the same room. All that's fine, except I like to get up early and win the morning and win the day, which means I disturb everybody else. Other people need more sleep than I do, and I'm very conscious of that. If we go out there as a family again, 2 separate bedrooms would definitely pay dividends. We also did not have a kitchen, so we had a room and didn't have anywhere to cook, which meant we had to eat out or get food from the supermarket, and we like to cook. So nutrition is such a key component that certainly would look for accommodation that had a kitchen facility and 2 separate bedrooms. That would have made a world of difference. The thing to really to start with, is to prioritize sleep. Number 6, this is a massive learning. So my nightly average sleep is around about 7 hours when I look back over the past year. So 7 hours sleep per night, and I perform well off that. In the month leading up to the race, that dropped to 6 hours per night. So I lost 1 hour per night. Every night I lost 1 hour. Principally due to a saddle sore that had developed, and therefore that adversely affected my sleep. And of course, you put so much effort and stimulus onto the body, you need to recover. And sleep is a weapon used correctly. But I dropped by 1 hour per night from my average sleep down to the final month, so just averaging 6 hours per sleep. As I got close to the race, that compounded adversely. So a 5 hour sleep per night on the final week leading up to the race. So dropping 2 hours per night. And because we were busy all day, walking around, checking in, registering for the race, I didn't catch up, did not get the siesta in. And that's something I highly recommend you do, is to track your sleep. So look at the numbers. Numbers don't lie. Numbers will set you free. And if you see that your sleep is dropping off in duration at this critical time of the season, then consider how else you can get sleep in there. It may be a power nap, 30 minutes, where you just put your head down, wake up 30 minutes later, bang. Trust me, you'll be back in the game. You feel like a new human. So track sleep, and if it's not working for you, do something about it during the day, if your schedule can allow you to do that. Most of us can find some way to get 30 minutes of just close your eyes during the day. All right, things I should stop doing. 3 things here, which, should I stop doing them, and I will stop doing them, will make a massive improvement to my performance. 1, carrying my bike in a bike bag rather than a bike box. I do have a bike box and I do have a bike bag. I carried my bike for the whole trip in a bike bag. Well over 20 kilos in weight, approaching 50 pounds, and an awkward shape, and it was over my one shoulder. And that was a real strength and conditioning workout in the week of the race when I didn't need to do strength and conditioning. I never do strength and conditioning. And I recommend to my athletes, you stop strength and conditioning 10 days out from a race, because you will not recover. And I did that for reasons, again, of logistics. So I had a bag, because I thought that if I'm going to get picked up from the airport to go to the hotel, putting a bike bag in a taxi is much easier. And of course it is. However, I would pay the extra to get a bigger van, taxi, to pick it up and put a bike box in there. So trust me, spend the money. It's well worth it. It's an investment. Spend the money, get a bike box, and pay for a bigger taxi. That will help you massively. Second thing to stop doing is doing too much in the days preceding the race. I'm sure that many of you who have gone to racing in foreign climates or a great destination will identify with this, that you get excited. You want to go and sightsee, you want to go and see what's out there, and you go to the expo, walk all the way around the expo to think what you might buy, walk around again to confirm what you might buy, and then buy stuff on the way around again. And then before you know it, you've done 4 or 5 laps around the expo before even the credit card has been dented. So my 20,000 step average on the days preceding the race was double what I normally do. So average about 10,000 a day. Of course, to track them on the watch. So this is why numbers help you. I did 20,000 steps average. Now that's an average, which means that some days we're at 33,000 steps. And on race day itself, I did 66,000 steps on the marathon. So in the days preceding the race, I was effectively doing a half marathon as I walked around the town. And that was not great. So the guidance I would give you is give yourself a cap, whatever that cap is for you. Let's say it's 10,000 steps per day, and stick to it. So if you're going to be going above that, then call the day off, head back to the hotel, put your feet up. Third thing to stop doing, and this is based on feedback from Mel, that she sees what I do, and that's a great thing about having somebody you trust who can give you guidance, is that as a huge fan of winning the morning, the preparation for winning the morning starts the night before. So at 9 o'clock every night, I then start getting ready for the day ahead. and the morning ahead. So to get all my kit out, make sure that everything's lined out and ready to go. All that's fine. But in the days preceding the race, or the night preceding the race, I was still faffing about well after 9 o'clock when I should have been fast asleep. So have a plan, execute your plan, and get everything ready early in the day. And certainly from a training point of view, on regular training, when it's not race week, I know what I'm going to do tomorrow, now. I know next week, in 7 days, is exactly what I'm going to do and when it's going to happen. So plan ahead for that, get everything ready well ahead of time, so that when you go towards bedtime, you hit the pillow, and you're fast asleep, recovering. All right, final thing here to cover are things that I felt really worked for me this season, and I will continue doing. The US Navy SEALs have what's called Hell Week, where it's a training program where the prospective Navy SEALs come in and they go through a rigorous week of training. And some make it, and all of them do. And for folks who decide to tap out, they have a physical bell there, and they ring the bell 3 times. That signifies to themselves and everyone around them that they're stepping out and quitting. And in this family, we have a mantra that we never, ever ring the bell. And I put that out on social media on the day of the race because I knew there's going to be a tough day ahead. And no matter what, I was never, ever, ever going to consider quitting. DNF is never going to happen. All that's good. And there has to be a conviction about the end point. Look at success, define it, which for me was crossing the line, and commit to it. Caution. Whilst I said I would never ever ring the bell, never ever quit, based on the jellyfish things that I did have, I've never ever been so unwell on a race course. I don't mind working hard, I don't mind training hard, I don't mind finding my limits, but I certainly did find the edge of my limits, potentially went beyond them. And certainly as I was out on the bike course, disorientated, delirious, and unable to put down any power. And then that continued on the race course, on the run course rather. Looking back now, I probably should have DNF'd. On any other race, on any other day, I would have done, and I am not a quitter. But I wanted to honor this race. This race is historical. There are so many folks, we've all been through it on the way to get to the start line. Everyone's got a story. And I wanted to honor that. I wanted to honor all the people who've done this race before, all the people who are doing the race on the day, and not ever ring that bell. But I was on the edge of being unsafe. And Mel and I made the decision to carry on. And the benefit of history, hindsight is 2020, it was the right decision, but it was a coin flip, 50-50. So have a mindset that you're never ever going to quit, but also know when it's time to quit. Listen to your body, listen to your mind. Don't do anything that's going to compromise your long-term health. Other things that worked for me. Number 2, I followed TriDot AI-driven training exclusively for this Kona prep, and my numbers were great. Swim, bike, run, I was in phenomenal shape coming in. Not only was the training plan really helpful, but also having the TriDot team there on site, having a warm welcome from them was just superb. To make that connection, to put faces to names was just great. So that's something I'll definitely continue doing in the future, is leveraging the TriDot platform. Truly is game-changing. Third thing I tried for this prep, and I will continue doing, is I made my switch from Zwift to Full Gas, my online training platform. The reason I did that was twofold. Firstly, because Full Gas has the Ironman courses on it. So if you're trying to get race course familiarization remotely when you're at home, this was indispensable. So I was able to do the Kona Ironman course many, many times in the garage, in the gym here, before I got to Kona itself. And the second thing was, the reason I made the switch was at that point, Zwift and TriDot were not integrated, which means it was a very manual process for me to get my TriDot training switched across to Zwift. And that added extra time to preparation for training sessions, which I just don't have. Now, at this point, I'm well aware that Zwift and Strida are now integrated, and I celebrate that. I think if you're a Zwift athlete and you're considering Strida, the two harmonize together so well, and that's a good thing. Fourth thing I will continue to do is to train with on-course nutrition. So the on-course brand of nutrition will be advertised and made available to you well ahead of time. I invested in that, and that was predominantly Mortal Hydration and Morten, and I got a ton of that and made the investment in that. And of course, it's not cheap; it's not the cheapest, but I wanted to train it to prove that my body was good with it, and indeed it was. And that meant that I could then go into the race with full confidence, never do anything new on race day, of course. And I had all my Morton nutrition set up on my bike in T1. And then the special needs station, I had my second part of the bike course nutrition, again, Morton already made up and mixed. What it meant is if I lost a bottle, and I did lose one dropped out the back at some point, I was able to go to on-course nutrition at the A station, and it was Morten, and I knew that Morten worked for me. Same thing with the Mortal Hydration, tested it exclusively before I went, and then I just knew on the race course it was all good to go. All right, home straight now. Let me cover point 5 and 6 here. Is as you're preparing for any race, certainly a triathlon with 3 disciplines, and the 4th discipline, of course, being nutrition, there's a lot of preparation to do. So it can be confusing, overwhelming. What I did this time is had a checklist on my iPhone here for swim, bike, run, nutrition, set up ahead of time. So it meant that I could just tick off each thing, and I knew that everything would be in place. Also had a great knowledgeable friend out there with me. He came and just checked everything over with me, just to give me that reassurance that everything was ready, because it's been 3 years since my last Ironman race. Trust me, you get rusty, and it's not about being rusty on the race course. It's about rusty with preparation, exactly what's involved, what you need. So have a checklist and check with a friend, and then you're in good shape. Number 6 is highlighted and bolded for a reason. Do have supporters out there on the course at specific agreed locations, wherever that is. Let's say it's 10K, 20K. And these supporters, these are beyond cheerleaders. Cheerleaders are great, but what you're really looking for is a cheerleader who knows you, who knows your strategy, who knows when you're on form, who knows when you're off, who knows when you're at risk. Thankfully, I had my family out there on the course at agreed meeting points, and they know me. They know the plan. Specifically, Mel knew the plan, and she could tell that things were not quite right. At that point, then Team Bradford came in to help me. So they supported me when I was unwell through the run course, which soon turned into a walk course. Of course, they could not assist me. I wanted to complete 140 miles unaided, but they were there just to keep an eye on me, make sure I was safe. And even though, as I mentioned before, it was a coin flip as to whether I should have continued or not, we did. We went along that knife edge, and we landed on the right side. Without those knowledgeable, caring people out there who knew me, my strategy, it would have been a DNF. I would have ended up in the medical tent and been pulled off the course by the medical team. So plan ahead. Have people out there at specific places where you know they're going to be, who can be cheerleaders if that's all you need, but also to keep you safe. It's a long day out there in the sun. All right, to bring it home, if I were to pick just one thing to start, stop, and continue, these are the 3 I would pick. All right, number 1, prioritize sleep. It is all about recovery. We put so much work in as triathletes. Doing the work is not an issue. Recovering is the challenge. So track your sleep. If you find that your sleep is declining right at the point of the season when it shouldn't be, then add in some kind of power nap if you can in the final month. Find a way to get a siesta. Many cultures out there believe in the siesta for good reason. All right, the one thing I stopped doing is preparing for tomorrow after 9 o'clock at night. That applies to regular training day to day. I'll get everything prepped earlier in the day. And certainly the night before a race, you want to be chilling out and sleeping, not doing last minute faffing around. So have your checklist on your phone, check it with a friend, get it done early, so then you can coast into the night before the race and sleep well. Final thing to talk about here, just highlight, is the continue. As I've highlighted and stressed the importance of having supporters on the course who are more than cheerleaders, cheerleaders with knowledge of you that can help you get through the race and ultimately get home safe. That's it. It's a wrap. I hope that's helpful. Any questions, reach out to me via the usual channels. You can email me at paul@paulbradfordcoaching.com or any of the social channels. Thank you. I work with just a handful of clients at any one time. People who are truly committed to making progress and enhancing their performance. If that sounds like you, then let's connect. You can scan the QR code on screen here or email me at paul@paulbradfordcoaching.com. I look forward to connecting with you.